Hey guys, I wanted to get on really quickly and do a video on how to do a secret pocket on the bottom of the bag that you're making. Really quickly before I get started, I just wanted to go over a few things. I'm not going to discuss at all the pattern itself, the dimensions themselves. There are plenty of good videos out. I've had a couple of customers say, oh, this would be a great conceal carry pocket. I am not going to advertise mine as that. I feel like that may be a political area I don't want to get involved in. Also, I don't know what the concealed carry laws are or the recommendations for building a bag around that, and that's just not something I'm interested in getting involved in. But here's the bag that I'm making. I made this one for my daughter. Oh, see, look at those puckers. I kind of wanted to work out some of the kinks, so I made this one for my daughter in order to kind of figure it out for the other bags. So I will be sewing 3 bags, so you're going to see maybe 3 patterns during this video. Here is the bag, and here is the zipper. And let me hold it up so that you can tell how secret it really is. So this flap kind of flips up, and I have this flap flipping up on both sides. The reason is this side and then the side that's not the zipper. The reason is I really love this bottom seam. When it sits down, and you can't really tell, but when it sits down, it's a nice straight seam, and you saw my puckers, and it kind of just hides them. So here is the, let me flip this up. I hate being on video, by the way. I'm a really shy person. So when we moved to WebEx at work, it was nerve-wracking. When everybody asked me to make this video, holy crap, I also wish I would have done my roots before I did this. But anyway, here is the zipper open, and it has a lot of room in it. I think I stuck like a phone and my whole makeup contents in it, and there was still room. So I don't know if you can see. Okay, so I will get started. Let's get started on what extra items you'll need to complete this bag. The material you're going to need for the secret pocket is your prepared panels for the purse, the outside of the purse. And this pattern is a Bonnie bucket. I won't be discussing this pattern, but you're going to want to keep your seam allowances in mind for this pattern. I need a 1/2 inch seam allowance. The other thing you're going to need 2 of the interior bag or cotton. I am using Ottertex for the interior of my bag, so I didn't want to interface or use anything on the interior of this bag, the Ottertex, so I'm using the cotton that I used for the outside of the bag. So you'll need 2 pieces of fabric, not interfaced. For this pattern, I am doing 4 inches, and the reason is you're going to want to install this 1 inch below the bottom of the bag and 3 inches up. And I'll explain a little bit more as we go along why you're doing that. And then you're going to want it to be the length of the bag. This is a little bit short, but it doesn't matter after the seam allowances. These are scraps from this bag, so you can tell they're not exactly straight, and that's not going to matter. The first panel is going to be attached to the bag as a zipper. You're going to cut your zipper out, and the zipper I am using is number 5, and I'm doing a 10 inch, so I cut it just a little bit longer, and then I'll cut the rest off later. So the zipper itself is going to go 1 inch above, it's going to begin 1 inch above the bottom of the bag panel. And then this will act like a pocket would. So you'll sew and cut out your pocket and then flip this onto the other side of the bag. And so this will sit on the other side of the bag. The second panel you will just attach the second piece of fabric to the inside of the bag like this. And I sew it where the middle would be to the zipper. And I just do one straight line across. And then I don't sew it to the edge. I leave that 1/2 inch there because I don't want to sew this in when I close the bag. I want this to be loose. The reason is you're using these 2 panels to attach the top and the bottom of your pocket together. And so that brings me to these. You will need, in addition to the bottom of your interior bag and then the bottom of the exterior bag, you're going to need 2 additional bottoms, and this will be the inside of the pocket. Again, like I said, I'm using cotton for this so that I could interface and stabilize these. I'm using, I believe it is Decoville 526. I'll check and I'll leave that in the comment section of the video. But so I interface the bag. I usually use woven fuse, but I'm out, so I'm using SF101, and then foam, and then after that the 526. The reason I put the 526 is for a couple of reasons on after the foam. The first reason is when you're pushing this through the bag, it seems to wrinkle less with the foam on there than it would if I used this first. The second reason is whatever you're putting in the bottom of that bag, you kind of want to keep secure. I'm not sure what people are going to put in their bags, but having that foam there protects them. So what I'm going to go do right now is I'm going to go sew this panel on, and then the zipper onto the panel, onto the other one, and then I will be back to let you know what the next steps are. Okay, so I've sewn my zipper on, and as you can tell, I had a little bit of fight with this vinyl. I decided that a very thick and heavy vinyl would be an awesome idea to film tonight. But anyway, so the zipper is in, and how I measured this was I went 2 inches from the bottom of this and then started my bottom line, and this was a 1/2 inch. The other thing is too, is I've sewn this on as well. I don't know if you can see it, but I know I said in a previous video to sew it about the middle of the zipper, but that was incorrect. You're going to want to sew it at the same as the top of the zipper. And the reason is you're going to want these 2 lines to line up. Let me see if I can, when they're put together, so that the top of your pocket is in a line. So ignore that girl, she lied. It's the top of the zipper is where you're going to want to do that. And that for me was 2 inches above the bottom of the bag. So the next thing I'm going to do is I don't want to sew this panel at all to the sides of the bag or to the skirt that we're going to put on next. This needs to remain loose so that I can use it to attach the bag. So I'm going to go ahead and hurry up and do that on both panels. Kind of keep it out of the way. I didn't do that very good. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so that one's done. And then my chair is making all kinds of squeaky noises. Okay, and so then we'll also want to make sure that this one is equally out of the way. This is not going to be fun to sew over, but it'll be fine. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is you want to prep your skirt. You want to pre-sew the bottom of the skirt because that's going to sit and it's not going to be sewn in to the bottom of the bag. So you're going to do that on both of them. I have, like I said, used really thick vinyl. So what I'm going to probably end up doing is I'm going to also sew the top of mine, and then to attach it to the bag, I'm going to just sew 1/8 of an inch away from that sew line to make it look like it was there on purpose. The other thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that these two panels line up pretty close, because you're not going to sew this bottom portion into the bottom of the bag. You want it to line up on both the top and the bottom as closely as possible. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to attach these after you've sewn the bottom. You're going to want to attach it half of an inch from the bottom of the bag. Because we're not sewing it in, you're going to want to leave that seam allowance for the bottom without taking this up. If you do not do that, Exhibit A, it is longer. I guess we learn from mistakes. It ends up longer than the bottom of the bag, and you don't want that. I mean, this isn't too terrible. It sits fine. You can't really tell, but I can tell, and that's enough for me. I'm pretty sure with the bag filled, it's going to be fine, but I hate it, and so that's what we're going to do to fix it. So the next things I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the top of this. Sew this on 1/2 inch from the bottom of the bag so that it does not ride lower than the bag itself. And I will see you in just a minute. Okay, so we're back, and I have sewn both of these on, left a little room at the bottom. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my panels together and line them up and sew up the sides. You are going to want to sew the ends of these into the sides of the bag. So the sides will be sewn in, but the bottom will not. So I will be back after I get this bag sewn together. Okay, your bag should be together now. And the next thing we're going to do is the fun part. We are going to release these, and then we're going to put the top of the inner pocket, the top of the secret pocket on. Okay. So in order to do this, and I can't stress enough how you shouldn't use really thick vinyl for this, you're going to want to fold the bottom portion of the bag inwards. I'm going to use clips for this. I haven't had to use them in the past because I've used a thinner vinyl, but if you are using a thicker vinyl, you're going to want to use clips to kind of keep this tucked in. And what I'm doing is tucking it into the inside of the bag so that, because we're going to be working with this top portion. Okay, this is going to be really fun to turn with this heavy duty vinyl, so who knows, I might make this whole video over. Okay, once you've got the bottom portion of the bag tucked in, you're going to want to take the top portion of the bag and you want to turn it up towards the front, just like you were if you were putting on the actual bottom of the bag. What you're going to do though is you're going to attach and I should have, let me do that really quick. Let me find my centers and I'll be right back with you. Okay, now that I've found my centers, and we're ready to attach this bottom piece to the bag. And what you're really going to do here is you're just going to line up this with this piece all the way around, and it should be pretty close to the same size all the way around. What you're also going to want to make sure too is that the bottom piece actually lines up with this seam as much as possible. It's not hugely important because it's the top of the bag and you can't see it, but as much as you possibly can, try to get this bottom of this bag pushed into that seam that you've created when you were sewing on the panels. So I will walk around the whole, I will walk around the whole bag here, attaching it to this top portion of the panel, and then I will show you what it looks like right before we sew it. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like, and you're going to take this to the machine and just go slow. Try to stay as close to this as you possibly can when sewing around. The other thing I would say too is you'll have these raw edges and you can't see it, but I like to work from the center out to the edges so that when I get to the edges, I can fold in the raw edge on both panels so that you don't have a raw edge anywhere. So I'm going to sew this and then we'll come back and put the bottom in. Okay, so now this has been sewn and I have cut away some of the extra on here. Now we're going to turn the bag right side in. You're going to want to make sure that when you're sewing around that, you're not sewing anywhere onto the bag, just onto that little extra piece of fabric that we've put in there. So once you turn the bag right side in, which this is always the fun part. We are going to attach the bottom panel and bottom of the bag in one motion. How you're going to do that is, and there's what it should look like on the inside. There's the top of your secret pocket. We're going to turn this bag back around again, and then we're going to stuff the entire contents, the entire bag into this small area. So what you'll do is you're going to want to flip this back up again so that you're now dealing with the bottom of the bag. So this is basically like turning it back inside out again, only you're just going to flip this bottom portion up. Once you've got it flipped up again, if you don't use thick vinyl, it's going to be so much easier, especially during this part. Okay, so now you're going to push the entire bag into, oh, that didn't go too bad. All right, good. Okay, so you're going to push the entire bag into the bottom. Now you're going to have this, and we're not going to sew this with the bag. So I have clipped this to keep it out of the way. Because we don't want to sew this on with this. This is the time that you're going to want to put feet on your bag, because we're going to attach this to the bottom of the purse. So you're going to want to put your feet on your bag, and then what I do is I just sew 1/8 of an inch around this with the bottom vinyl, and I'll show you that when that's done before I get ready to sew. And then we're going to attach it to this, not this. So we're going to attach it to the bottom of the actual bag, and then we'll worry about this next. This is in the next step after that. So let me get my feet on, the bottom of the bag sewn together, and then I will be back to show you how to attach this together. So okay, so now we're back, and you should have your feet attached and your bottom piece of your pocket attached to each other. And now we're going to attach it to the bag. The one thing you want to remember to do right now is, before I forget, unzip your zipper to the secret pocket. The next thing you're going to want to do is make sure that these are pulled down, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but right now we're just trying to attach this to the bag. And these things like to fly. Okay, so again, you're going to want to make sure as much of this is pulled down as possible. You don't want any of it to end up in this bottom seam. Trust me, you'll have puckering issues if you do. Okay, so now You're going to attach the bag with the right sides facing together, or the top or the bottom of your secret pocket bag facing up. And just to give you another look again, this is the top of your pocket, and you've stuffed the entire purse into the pocket. And now you're going to attach this on top of that with clips, and then hopefully you have found your center. So I always like to start on my sides and work my way out, and then you'll want to clip those around. And again, don't clip them to this at all, just to the bottom of the bag. Once I have that all done and in place, I will go ahead and show you what that looks like right before I sew. Okay, so you have attached the bottom of the bag to the bottom of the top of the bag, if that makes any sense. And now we're going to sew, but I just want to kind of give you an idea of what it looked like when you're at that point. Again, your zipper should be open because that is where we're going to pull the bag through. Now, honestly, I didn't know that this was even going to work the first time that I did it. And by some sort of crazy magic, it did, and I don't question it. It was just the only way I could figure out to, oh, look at that, make sure you don't have any of that in there. It was the only way I could figure out to do it. Definitely go around, double check, make sure that you do not get this in. The reason is we're going to pull this up after you cut your seams and roll it in and tuck it around, and that's going to hide this seam right here. If you have a better way of doing that, I welcome suggestions. This is, like I said, what I came up with. So right now we're just not going to worry about this flap, and we're just going to go ahead and sew this around, and I will be back when that's done. Okay, so your bag should be sewn bottom to the bag. The next thing we're going to do now is we are going to flip this cotton up, and you're going to wrap it around. Now there's two ways you can do this. I have done both. You can stop here, flip your bag around, and hand sew it. I've done that. It wasn't my favorite thing in the world to do. Or you can do what I'm doing. It looks okay. It looks good in the bag. Like I said, if you have a different or a better way to do it, feel free. But I just roll the seam and flip it. And then I will go to the machine again and sew it. So you're just going around, and this is so that you cannot see that seam on the outside, on the inside of the pocket when you go to birth your bag through the hole. I hope there's an easier way. This looks good though, as long as you're cutting down your seam allowance on the bag. Once you've sewn this, just cut it down if you can. And the corners are not easy to sew. These rounded edges are definitely not easy to sew with all the bulk in the bag, but I'm hoping that the overall concept of this is friendly for domestics. I've tried to make it as light as possible. I know that I had a domestic for just a little while. As soon as I started doing these, who are we kidding? I got myself a Juki, but I know that a lot of people don't have that. So anyway, so you're gonna roll around here, try to make it, I'll probably have to adjust this off camera to make it look nice, but some twists are not gonna matter. Cutting it down, you can cut it down if you want. I'm not going to. I'm just gonna roll it in because honestly, once the bag is turned right side in, doesn't even matter. Okay, so you're gonna go around here. When you get to these, you can fold them again so you don't have any raw edges on the ends. I'm not too worried about that, so I'm not going to, but you can if you want to. So, and this will be your last sew before you'll flip this bag around and then continue on with your pattern the way that it was written. I did want to mention one more thing. When you turn this bag back in, you are going to see the sides. So you're going to want to make sure that as much as you possibly can, you're tucking these in so that your sides look good too. They're not sagging at all. If that means cutting some of your material down, you can do that. Just give yourself one good look around. Make sure that everything is in place, like these seams. So I want to make sure that these are covered. I don't know if you can see that, but you're going to want to make sure that this is covered because that is, and folded over, because that is going to be seen in the bag. And then I wouldn't worry too much about it if you do have areas that need to be fixed. I've had to go in, like I said, hand sew a little bit, and it's not a big deal. It's the inside of the pocket. So as much as, you know, you want every bag to be perfect, if you have to go in and hand sew afterwards a little bit, it's no big deal. And I still gotta get that little thing off. Okay, so I'm gonna sew this and then we'll flip the bag around. Okay, here we are. Seams are sewn, and as you can see, mine's not perfect, but like I said, this bag is for me. I will probably make some adjustments to it with a hand needle like this, maybe, when I flip the bag around, but I was super committed to finishing this video tonight. So, you know, I think that most times I would spend more time folding this better, but it is maybe 1:30 in the morning here. I've got to be up at 5, but I wanted to finish this video so I could edit it tomorrow while working. Don't tell my boss. But anyway, let's flip the bag out and watch this magic happen. I will try to do all this on video unless it takes a long time because of the weight of this bag, but I mean, you're gonna have to pull on it, so hopefully you sewed your zipper down good. I'm just pulling out the clips from when I kept the bag itself inside the bag, and I'm telling you, every time I flip one of these around, I'm just amazed that it even happened. So this is going to take some pulling and pushing, and I don't know if you can see, but I mean, let's just do it all on film, because guess what? I'm going to do it anyway. I might as well do it on film. And then, you know, the surprise is always, how did the bag turn out in the end? So I'm just as excited to see as you guys are. How many puckers, how many mistakes have been made, you never know, I guess, until you turn that bag around. And this one's really going to be tough because it is such a hard vinyl, so we're going to have to put my body into it here. And really, you just need to push from that back end and like shove and flip it around as you go. Which is why I did the foam on top of the cotton, so that when you did, it minimizes the wrinkles just a little bit. And then, you know, of course, you can stick your iron in, which is what I do, is I stick my iron in the pocket once it's been created. And here it comes. There's the bag, and I hope for film's sake that this looks good, because I am not filming this again. So look at that. Look at that come alive. Okay, I love it. I don't even have that many puckers this time. Ha. Okay, so there's your pocket, and as you can see, you know, it's got some seams in there, but like I said, if you can figure out a different way to do it, I don't know if you can see them good in there, but I think it looks great. Let's zip it up. Take a good look at it. Zipped up and standing. Push your bottom out here. Let me see. You want to pull your bottom out. In fact, you probably want to do that with the zipper open. Really push that bottom out. But yeah, go me. This is the third one I've done, and I would say that for as tight as this vinyl was, as thick and heavy as this vinyl was, I mean, we did okay. We did good. So there's your pocket. There's your hidden pocket. And like I said, I really love how this sits on both sides, because if you do have puckers, it kind of just hides them. And it's kind of cool because, you know, you don't know where the pocket is. So there you go. I hope to see some of you make these. I would love to be tagged in any posts that you make of them. Please let me see what you've done. And if you have any other ways to improve this little hack, please let me know. Thank you guys.